Time is the most valuable thing a person has. That's why in today's video, I will show you that if planned for properly, you can eat 4 meals, including dessert, that take 15 minutes of prep time per meal or less. These meals are filling, high in protein, and simple to make, so even the busiest of individuals can follow this plan and easily lose weight while doing so. Let's get into it. Today is the quintessential example of why it is so important to be prepared and be able to make meals with a quickness when needed. I just spent the better part of the last 4 hours dealing with credit card fraud, and now it is 2:30 and I have to start eating, but I have everything ready to go. They will fit in my daily calorie goals and they will all be delicious. We're going to start with a smash burger, but not any smash burger. This is going to be a breakfast smash burger made with Nick's Love. First up, we need some of these sweet Italian sausage, or any Italian sausage will work here. I got a turkey sausage, 18 grams protein, 160 calories. Macros are great on this. The only reason I kept it in this thing is to show you the brand I use, but if you prefer another Italian flavored sausage that's good on calories, use that one. So the eventual next question you may be asking is, well, Nick, how the hell am I gonna make a smash burger with something that's a sausage? Don't you worry. We're going to break the sausage open, get the skin off, and plop it right in there. The thing with this is we need 1.5 sausages. So you're gonna have a half sausage left over if you buy a package of these, but you could use a half sausage in anything. As I'm showing you here, you can add it to whatever you'd like, whether that be a sausage pizza, or maybe add some meat into some pasta. And I'm gonna put the other half back in here for now. As we're doing this, I have the griddle preheating in the back. Then you may be wondering, why'd you put it on a bowl on a scale? Well, it's sweet Italian sausage. My voice just broke like I was 6 years old, but it's not breakfast Italian sausage yet, in my opinion. Even though it'll still taste great like this, I just like to add a little bit of sage, which is always in breakfast sausages. Just a little sprinkle there, you don't want too much of that. And then 15 grams of a sugar-free syrup. I have Miss Buttersworth here, just so I show you that anyone could use it, but you could also make my homemade syrup that I use all the time as well. I love these pre-cut pieces of parchment paper for smash burgers, and I literally pretty much use them strictly for smash burgers. This meat is super sticky, so I'm gonna spray some oil on my hands, and I'm just gonna mix this all together. Compared to regular smash burgers, this meat is very wet and fragile, but with your hands lubed up and lightly smashing these are gonna come out just as good as any beef-based smash burger. Half on here, half on here. Now you could use any flat-bottomed pot that you want to make these into smash burgers, but we're gonna do this very lightly. And when I mean very lightly, I mean very lightly. It's not gonna take much to make these into smash burgers. Almost like the weight of the pan itself will do it, just a light smash, and that's about good right there. Boom, 2 seconds. These come together super quick, so you wanna have your cheese ready. For that, I'm using Velveeta jalapeno. You can use whatever Velveeta you want, but Velveeta's or American cheese is the best for smash burgers. And we're gonna grab 2 of these bad boys. A breakfast sandwich wouldn't be a breakfast sandwich without an egg. And yes, we're using the yolk, baby. We're getting full flavor in this bad boy. We've got everything ready to go. We're gonna move over to the stovetop. Now, I've been using this griddle and press from today's sponsor, Made In, almost every day. Made In designs professional quality products for the home cook. Their kitchenware is used in multiple 3 Michelin star restaurants, like in my hometown Chicago at the restaurant Alinea. What I really love about this griddle is I have 2 heat sources. One that's on a higher heat and one that's on a lower heat that's gonna allow me to cook the egg and the meat at the same time and cook it exactly how I want it. Check out the carbon steel griddle and Made In's other cookware by using the link in my description to save on your order. So what I'm gonna do here is zero out the scale, apply the butter, weigh that out, and I wanted 4 grams, 4.3, right on the dot. Now, these are very brittle. You gotta be careful with them. Slide this off very slowly here. use our press to get a nice sear on this smash burger. With a spatula, we're going to slowly peel this off, and if anything is sticking, which it hasn't thus far, we would just use the spatula to add it back to the smash burger, but it came off perfectly. We make sure we get every gram of protein. Now, while that's laying on there, I'm gonna add the egg over here, turn the thing to low, add just a touch of water here, and we're gonna cover. Slowly peel this off. Typically I would season these now, but they've already been salted and seasoned. This egg is gonna take about 2 to 3 minutes. I like to set a little 2-minute timer here real quick. Make sure you really scrape on the griddle to get all that browning. All that is flavor right there, baby. Flip, beautiful browning, let's go. Cover that up with some cheese. Toast these buns real quick, all at the same time on this griddle. I really love this griddle. Even on my stovetop that's mismatched, this griddle still fits perfectly. I just angle it, and I got the big burner and the little burner to utilize however I want. And we'll get one of Maiden's beautiful serving plates here. We'll place the first one down, the second one down. If you notice, we didn't put anything down, like oil or anything, for the egg. And the egg still comes off perfectly. Cleanup is also super easy for this. Basically, I just gotta let this cool down and re-oil it, and it's ready to go for another smash burger tomorrow. This sandwich is ready to go as is, but I gotta put my finishing touches on it. And for me, that's about 5 grams of Mike's Hot Honey, a nice drizzle of sweet with some heat, and then we'll be super extra, and we'll poke our yolk, and we'll have it run down before we even take a bite. Absolute perfection for breakfast. Took less than 15 minutes, start to finish, and is loaded with protein. Let's take a bite, shall we? Oh, look at all that yolk. The sweet from the maple syrup and the honey, a little bit of heat from the honey as well. Beautiful mouthfeel from the egg yolk and the fatty sausage. This is just perfect. By the way, the buns I have are the Keto Culture buns. Got these at Walmart, 50 calories a piece. That is how the macros that you're about to hear are so good. For this meal, we have 475 calories, 27 fat, 27 carb, but a bunch of them coming from fiber from the buns, and 45 grams of protein. This is gonna keep me full for a few hours, and of course, we will see you for the pre-workout meal. Like this video. If I'm eating 4 meals in a day, there's always at least one meal that is super quick and easy, whether that be a ready to drink shake or a protein bar or 2, or fruit or Quest chips or a plethora of different things, just so I don't have to do any work and can mindlessly drink down or eat something that has a good amount of protein in it. For my pre-workout meal though, I wanna have some carbs for energy, I wanna have a good amount of protein because it's been a few hours since I've had any protein, and I don't want a lot of fat so it just sits in my stomach. So ideally, something that's not really too filling. One of my go-tos, I always have fruit in the house to be honest, but one of my go-tos is Cuties, or HEB calls them Bellas. 3 of these is about 84 calories, 20 grams of carbs, and has 5 grams of fiber, and gets me nice and full. A couple days ago, I got sent this blueberry muffin Gorilla Mode protein, and it's freaking delicious. I have a vanilla protein for all of my recipe needs, which is very versatile because it can be used in pretty much any protein recipe, even if there's another flavor that might be slightly better. But for a pure protein shake, this blueberry muffin is one of the best protein powders or protein shakes with just water that I've ever had. This meal does 2 things. 1, it is perfect for a pre-workout to give me energy and I don't feel too full with a boatload of protein in it. And 2, it allows me to save calories for dinner, which is always when I'm hungriest. So I'm gonna have 2 scoops of this with my oranges, and the macros in this thing, 324 calories, 2 fat, 25 carb, and 52 grams of protein. And I will see you for meal 3. It's time to go to the gym. I gotta drink my pre-workout, Gorilla Mind's new formula. It's the best. If you haven't checked it out already, I highly suggest you do so. Best workouts of my life. However, the one important thing that I really wanted to show now is we need to take out our dough. yesterday I took about 2 minutes of my time and made 5 doughs for the week. So now when I want dinner in about 2 or 3, maybe even 4 hours, all I have to do is take this out of the fridge and let it rise. Now I'm gonna let it puff down a little bit because it already rose a good amount. And over the next few hours, it's gonna keep rising, and I don't want it to pop out of the plastic. This is ready to go, and I'm gonna go to the gym and we will eat. A couple of years ago, I came out with a Domino's cheesy bread that only costed $2 a piece, was absolutely delicious, and in my opinion, tasted just as good, if not better than Domino's for lower calories. However, in this day and age, I know so much more, and I wanted to make it lower calorie, taste even better than it did before, and make it a meal prep and make that meal prep easier than how it was made before as well. I am damn near perfection as of last night actually, but I want to give it a couple more test runs just to make sure. And for most people, Sunday is meal prep day. So yesterday, I took my stand mixer, put all of the ingredients inside of it for the dough, and I let it spin. What I also did was shredded my cheese. So in total, I was able to prep all my ingredients in just about 10 minutes. Now I have dough for the entire week, and I'm gonna show you just how easy it is to make this. You take it out 2 to 4 hours before you wanna eat. And since I'm still in the testing process, what I'm doing to measure the cornmeal is I'm adding it over the top and I'm zeroing this out to see how much I'm using. And whatever's left over, I'm gonna weigh out, and then I'll know how much cornmeal is actually being used on each cheesy bread. Now cornmeal is exactly what Domino's uses, which is why I use it for this recipe. And in my opinion, even though there's not that much cornmeal, it does make a good difference in flavor in the final recipe. Now my oven's already preheated, so as soon as we stuff this with cheese and we stretch this out, we're good to go. And all I'm doing is letting gravity do the stretching for me. We want this still pretty thick, but once folded and completely stretched out, we want this about 10 inches long. So doing this in the air takes about 1 to 2 minutes, and you could use the cornmeal to help slide this across. This makes it super easy to stretch, so even the beginner cook can easily make this dough with no issue. We're gonna make this in a bowl, not a stand mixer for the final one, but since I have a stand mixer, I might as well use it. All right, this is looking really nice. I just wanna see how much leftover cornmeal I have so I can have the most accurate calories for you guys once this is out. Now, if you have the cookbook, by the time this video comes out, I guarantee you this is in the cookbook. So if you don't have the cookbook, I would highly consider getting it because you get all of the recipes early. My bean burrito was out a week early. My protein cheesecake, which everyone absolutely loves by the way, was out 2 to 3 weeks early, and everyone gets to enjoy it before the recipes come out, and it keeps updating with every new recipe, and it's over 140 recipes at this point, and it's only gonna keep growing. So if you wanna support me and the channel and the hard work that I put into these recipes and get a cookbook that could help you get to your goals, you could use code E4CM, get 10% off, and keep getting all these brand new recipes early. 6.4 left over. So we really only used 4 grams of cornmeal, which is about, I don't know, 15 calories or so. But we're adding flavor and it made it super easy to stretch the dough. So now that our dough is all stretched out, we're gonna get our cheese. This takes 4 different cheeses, but I can only get 3 of them in block form, and it takes me like 3 minutes each block to shred. So this only takes about 10 minutes of prep time. And you're doing it, if you have a stand mixer, you're doing it while the stand mixer is doing its thing. Or you could do this while it's sitting in the bowl and you're waiting to do your stretch and fold, and just get 2 things done at once. This is one of the easiest meal preps to do because all you do is let it sit and you wait and you go do whatever during the process. That's hands-off time. People always say, oh, your recipes take a long time. Yeah, but you get to come back and go whenever you want. The actual me stretching out the dough, how long was this? 2 minutes. Me putting everything in a bowl into a stand mixer, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. Me doing this, 12 minutes. So in total, I did 20 minutes of work, and I have a week's worth of dough and cheese for dinner every single day of the week. If I want it to be proper, right now I would put these ingredients in a bowl, but instead I'm just gonna use a paper plate. It's less dishes and it's easier cleanup. We got 2 cheeses that are going on the inside, both mozzarella, 1 fat-free, 1 part skim. And then we got 4 cheeses that are going on top. 2 fat-free, 1 cheddar, 1 mozzarella, and 2 part skim, sharp cheddar and mozzarella. And then the 2 fat-free cheeses we want to mix together so it's like evenly dispersed when we do add our cheeses, and we mix both of the part skims together as well. Now we always want the fat-free cheese to go on the bottom of any recipe, because when you bite into something, you're going to get much better browning on top, which is going to hit your palate first, and fat-free cheese doesn't brown. So we want this fat-free cheese to melt into the fat-free cheese, give the fat-free cheese flavor, as well as let it brown. So we got the mozzarella on top. We're leaving a little bit of room on the sides, because what we're gonna do now is fold this over and press on the sides to seal. Then I'm just gonna let gravity do its thing again. And look at that, we're a perfect 10 inches across. That's exactly what we want. For ease of getting this in and out of the oven, we wanna get a small, like 6-inch piece of parchment paper. I'm just gonna rip the ends off here because we don't need that extra. You could also use a knife here as well, but the dough scraper just works so well. We're gonna cut the cheesy bread in half. We're gonna cut that half into a half, and those halves into halves. So what we wanna end up with is 8 pieces of cheesy bread. And while this looks like kind of small pieces now, you'd be surprised how much this grows in the oven. Now that we have it cut up, we want to top with our cheese. So we got really 4 layers of cheese total, but 1 on the inside and 1 on the outside. So we got our fat-free cheese down first, and then we got our full fat cheese on top. And you can kind of keep it in the middle here, because as it melts, it's going to spread out anyway. So it's not like you have to spread it out all over the cheesy bread. Any extra, I'll just pour right on top. And if anything fell off, I like to just get it back in the middle here. And if I wasn't talking, this would have taken me 5 or 6 minutes to do total. Everything's ready to go. Stretch, stuff, top, put in the oven. So the oven's ready at 450. We're gonna get it in there. And I will see you back in less than 15 minutes. It's been around 15 minutes. And look at what we have here. Browned to perfection, cheese melting out. And look how big this is. It puffs up so much in the oven. Now we want to let this cool down. Take the parchment paper out or else it'll get soggy underneath. And put it on a wire rack if you got one. Anything that's raised that could let that air ventilate. Now, this is beautiful, but we want to add 1 more layer of flavor here. So we'll grab a little bowl and we'll grab our butter that we used earlier. And it's always good to have some fresh garlic on deck, but I think I'm gonna do this to where we batch make this, and then every meal prep, you can just grab it out of the fridge and reheat it real quick. But for now, since I'm still testing, I'm doing it fresh for every recipe, and it only takes about 3 minutes anyways. Real quick, we just wanna heat this up for about 20 seconds, right when the butter is melted. And yes, we are making garlic butter, just like Domino's is famous for. But we're making it better because it's gonna be fresher. And we melted the butter right into the garlic, so it's picking up that flavor. We got some real Parmigiano Reggiano. All it takes is a couple grams. And the reason I wanna batch make it is just because of the parsley. You could add dry parsley, but I really just like the flavor of real parsley. And you only need a leaf, maybe 2 small ones. And I would usually do this a couple minutes before this got out of the oven, but I wanted to get you guys an absolutely beautiful time lapse of the cheesy bread in the oven baking to perfection. In just about 20 seconds, we got our parsley. I'm gonna put some on the side and some right into the butter. Then we're gonna add just a little bit of salt. To really make sure all these flavors meld together, I'm gonna put this in here for another about 10 seconds. And we're ready to top. You could definitely dump this right on top, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna brush this butter on so I get some garlic butter in every single bite. And in my opinion, with recipes, it's all about the little things, and getting this garlic butter in every single bite is going to change the dynamic and the flavor of this cheesy bread. And then with the cheese and the garlic and the parsley, I'm just gonna put it on here a little bit at a time across the bread. Basically, we're painting here. There's 8 sticks, 8 slices, 8 pieces, whatever you wanna call it. Try to get some in every bite. Less than 50 calories worth of butter, only a couple grams of cheese, a little bit of salt, a little bit of fresh parsley, and you have Flavor Town ready to go. I mean, come on. And some of this fell off. Of course, I'm gonna put it back on. No parm wasted in this house. And I know this is what you've all been waiting for. So we're gonna break this open right down the middle and show you that in this house, we don't Photoshop thumbnails for AI. All of it is true. Look at that cheese pull. All day. It's a beautiful thing. This cheesy bread tastes so delicious on its own. However, if you do want something to dip, you could use some light ranch. I have some sauce left over from my Detroit style pizza. If you haven't checked that video out, Detroit style pizza is off the chain. And if I heat this up in the microwave for about 30 seconds, we got warm, homemade, fresh marinara ready to dip. Let's listen to the crunch here. Even with butter slathered all over it, and it's been sitting, still provides a crunch. If you don't have a pizza steel, I'm gonna make a top 5 kitchen supplies for beginners. Pizza steel is the best. Works on cheesy bread, pizza, my $1 burritos. Everything gets so crispy on a pizza steel or oven steel, and it lasts your entire life. All right, I'm hungry as shit. Let's get to the macros. These macros aren't set in stone yet. They may change a little bit, but for now, this cheesy bread has 791 calories, 64 protein, 89 carb, and 20 fat, worth every single calorie. Can easily fit it into my dinner, and we have room for dessert, so don't go anywhere. That cheesy bread was absolutely fantastic, and while I ate that, I watched Jeff Nippard and Will Tennyson's collab video. Musket, you did an excellent job editing that. Loved every second of it. And honestly, I'm full. If this was a regular day, I would probably save the calories that I'm about to eat for another day when I'm actually hungry. Because when you're cutting, you have days where you're full and you have days where you're super hungry. And why would I force feed something when I could have those calories on another day when I'm feeling hungry and not go over my weekly calories? And there's always room for dessert. What I didn't tell you when I told you that I made the dough in the stand mixer is right before I made that dough in the stand mixer, I made the cheesecake in the stand mixer. It took me 20 minutes, I put it into a pan, I put it into the oven, and while that was cooking, I made the dough. So in a total of about an hour, I had a finished cheesecake and I had a week's worth of dough. 2 meals in under an hour and literally 30-35 minutes of prep time, you can't beat it. I used my cookbook, looked through the instructions to make the cheesecake, and I was off to the races. It was simple as pie. And you know I had to eat a fresh piece of that cheesecake last night as soon as it cooled down. What I did this time is, I am famous for undercooking things on purpose when it's for me. I love a more custardy, more melty center, whether that be the cheesecake or my protein muffins. I like them softer in the middle, a little underdone, because to me, that flavor is just better. So with this cheesecake, this one's mine. I already put out the recipe. I undercooked this cheesecake by about 2 minutes. And as you can see, it is more melty in the middle. And that's fine. If you like yours a little overdone, you can cook yours overdone. But now that I have this already made, all I have to do is cut a slice. And just for funsies, another made-in plate here to plate this cheesecake to make it look extra beautiful, extra sexy. Each slice of this cheesecake, if you haven't had it yet, and for those that have had it, put in the comments what you think, because I've gotten nothing but great reviews. But each slice of cheesecake weighs about 240 grams. And for those that don't know, a half pound is 224 grams. So you get over a half pound of cheesecake in every slice And this lasts in the fridge for a week. So if you portion it out, you could have a slice a night. If you don't have enough calories, or you want to give a half a slice to someone else, or both, you could cut a slice in half. You get a 1/4 pound of cheesecake still, and your significant other, your kids, whoever, gets a slice of cheesecake as well. Absolutely delicious. Worth every single calorie and worth the 20 to 25 minutes to prep it, telling you. Oh, and even if you don't have a stand mixer, this would have taken about another extra 20 minutes of prep time. So it would have taken you an hour with cooking, probably about an hour and a half to cook both recipes. And again, you have 2 meals for the entire week that you don't even have to think about. And if you have a protein shake or whatever in between, you really only have to worry about maybe 1 other meal per week. You spend another half an hour or hour making muffins or something like that, you will have 0 meals to worry about throughout the entire week. Now, if this is too burnt for your preference, top comes right off. You can literally just be like, okay, I want to take the top off, but I think this adds good flavor. So I'm gonna leave it on, get my ooey gooey center that I undercooked on purpose. It never gets old. I've been eating this thing nearly every day, probably 6 days per week. Literally can't stop eating it. And it's gonna be a sad day when I have to stop eating this because I have to test other dessert recipes. All right, let's go over the macros. For the cheesecake, 372 calories, 14.5 grams of fat, 47 carb, but again, the carbs aren't correct because a bunch of them come from Swerve, and erythritol or Swerve isn't calories. And then 29 grams of protein. For a real tasting cheesecake, you cannot beat it. If you haven't checked out the recipe, I highly, highly recommend you do. For the day, we are looking at 1,924 calories, 189 grams of protein, 178 carb, probably 40 of which don't count as calories between fiber, the sweetener, whatever, and 66 grams of fat. I have been losing 2+ pounds a week on this calorie intake, and life has been absolutely beautiful. As I told you, I'm not even really hungry right now. I'm gonna eat this cheesecake because it's in front of me and it's absolutely delicious, but I could have eaten 1,600 calories and still been satisfied today. It's definitely important to have a variety in your diet though, so if you wanna see 4 other meals that total 200 grams of protein, I would check out this video here. Thanks again, Made In, for sponsoring this video, and until next time, deuces.